What's the deal with Antarctica? Do people live there? Is it part of any country? Why do people want to have babies there? And how's it possible that we've only known about this place for the last couple hundred years? Antarctica is the last big unknown piece of land that's left in the world, and it doesn't have polar bears. Quick background, Antarctica is a giant continent. It's actually bigger than Europe and Australia. It's also the coldest, driest, and windiest. Unlike its cousin to the north, Antarctica is for the most part a freezing, icy, and mountainous piece of land. The Arctic Circle, on the other hand, if you didn't know, is actually mostly frozen ocean. Antarctica, my mouth is gonna go numb, is a different beast. It's much more massive, much more freezing, and much more inhospitable. And again, just to be clear, no polar bears. So does anyone live there? The answer is yes, people live there, but also no, they don't. Today there can be as many as 5,000 people that reside there, some for a year or more, but most experts don't consider that a permanent population. Which begs the question, what's a permanent population? Aren't we all living somewhere for a specific amount of time? Here's how we got to this point. Even though most other places have been populated for thousands of years, if not hundreds of thousands of years, it doesn't look like any humans set foot on Antarctica until about 200 years ago. Compare that with the Arctic Circle, which is evidence of humans going back some 50,000 years. That makes Antarctica, I think I got it that time, one of the newest, most unexplored, and most unfamiliar places on the planet. The first sign of any human there is from 1819. Found so far. The idea of Antarctica has been around for a long time, though. The name Antarctic, meaning the opposite of the Arctic, has been used since the 2nd century. The Arctic Circle has had settlements since antiquity, so it seemed only logical to the ancient Greeks that there'd be an opposite pole on the other end that just hasn't been found yet. Turns out the ancient Greeks were right about a lot of things. So there's a long, long history of people searching for this other end. Maps from as early as the 5th century show some kind of land in the southern pole, and by the 1400s, map makers were calling it Terra Australis, which means southern land, and they were regularly including it on world maps, even though no one had actually seen it yet. And yes, Europeans use the same name for Australia. Most of the initial discoveries started from ships that got lost, blown off course, and landing on some unknown ice sheet in the middle of the ocean. But from the 1800s to the mid-1900s, lots of expeditions set out to explore the place. Norwegians, Brits, Americans, Russians, French, Dutch, Swedish, German, like a who's who of colonizers. The first known built settlement were 2 buildings built in 1899 by a British expedition. They still exist today and are therefore the only place left in the world where you can see the first human structure ever built on an entire continent. In fact, a lot of the original explorers' huts and cabins are still standing all over. You could say they're frozen in time. The oldest continually inhabited place is a weather base built in 1903 and manned year-round since 1904. Which would make it the oldest permanent settlement on the entire continent. Lots of governments and agencies have built bases and research stations and camps all over the continent since then. There are about 70 different settlements operated by about 30 different countries now. Some are pretty big. The US's McMurdo station, usually the largest, fits up to 1,258 people in what basically operates like a small ice city. It has over 85 buildings, a harbor, airport, store, coffee shop, and 2 ATMs. There are great documentaries about life living at McMurdo. Some fun cliff notes include, there's a disproportionate amount of costume parties, pregnancy is pretty tightly controlled, so apparently there's also a disproportionate amount of personal protective equipment. There's 3 bars in the summer, but alcohol can get rationed. You never know when you might need it. And there's 24 hours of sunlight in the summer and 24 hours of darkness in the winter. So that explains a lot of the facts just mentioned. In addition to McMurdo, there's lots of other settlements. Most are far from each other, but some you can walk between. Almost everything is for research, but there's at least 2 that are considered civilian bases. They house families of workers stationed there, and at least one of them requires that you get an appendectomy before moving there, because who wants their appendix to burst in the middle of the Antarctic? All of the nation's bases operate cooperatively under a treaty made in the 1960s. It's actually one of the most widely adopted and generally followed international agreements still in existence. Here's the deal. Antarctica is used for scientific purposes only. There's no military anything allowed, except for logistical support, and everyone agrees to put aside territorial claims to promote scientific cooperation. The treaty currently has 54 signatories, which makes up more than 80% of the world's population. That makes Antarctica the only non-militarized continent, the only continent without a war, and the only place where 54 countries can agree to not care about borders. That said, a lot of countries have staked out their borders. They're all gearing up for when it becomes more than just a science mission. 7 nations currently working there have declared portions of the continent continent to be theirs. It's mostly cut by longitude lines, so the borders look like an artisanal pie. That technically puts Norway and Australia next to each other, and if you're in the South Pole, you could hop between 7 countries in about a minute. None of these claims mean much while the treaty is in effect, but they could have real-world consequences if or when the place becomes valuable land. So even though they all cooperate, every nation knows what's going on under the surface, or under the ice. Argentina actually sent a pregnant woman to their base in 1977. Why? Because they got the first recorded child born on the continent. Not to be outdone, Chile sent a married couple to their base, so they could have the first child conceived on the continent. That's all true. There's a huge amount that we don't know about Antarctica. There's new discoveries every year, including a recent one in 2021 that found 60 million fish nesting under the ice. By far the largest breeding colony ever found. And they thought barely anything lived there before. So back to the main question. Does anyone live there? Probably not before a century ago, but we know that up to 5,000 people can be there now, some for years and some even having babies. There's enough people for bars, a coffee shop, and costume parties, and there's enough activity for almost 100 distinct settlements and the need for an international treaty to manage it all. But no polar bears. I'm no expert, but to me, it sounds a lot like people live there. What do you think?